Okay, so first of all, can everybody get used to my very French accent? Are we fine with that? Because if you can, you're fine, okay? So my name is Stéphane Girard, from Wine by One, and I was born and grew up in Bordeaux. I'm always pleased to be back here. What is Wine by One about? That's interesting, because I think Wine by One is very different from any other place dedicated to wine, even Vagabond or even any wine bar involving like self-service with a payment card like this one. It's very different because it's about wine. It's wine by one, but it's by one, which means it's about wine, but wine by oneself. So it's about you. When you hold this card, it's about you. Let me tell you a very short story. So as you mentioned, I was in a business school called Wharton and INSEAD, getting my MBA, and I was in charge of the wine club of this university. And during the very first wine tasting of the year, a Chinese guy, student like me, came to me and said, "Is this wine?" I said, "Oh, yes, of course it's wine. So the wine club tasting, so it's wine. But it's not red, it's yellow." And like me, I mean, if you were born in Bordeaux and grew up in Bordeaux, you would be tempted to loaf or at least to smile. But once again, this guy maybe grew up in a country or in a region where there was no wine, and so I said, okay, that's interesting. You don't know about that yellow wine. Let me tell you, it's white wine. 6 months later, Jean-Michel Caz, who is the owner of Lingebage, here, came for a wine tasting. And the same guy, the same Chinese guy, came to me and said, "I really enjoy the Jean-Michel Caz tasting, but I've got a question." And as you can imagine, I was prepared for the worst. And he said to me, "Jean-Michel Caz mentioned Lingebage, but also Aubage Averroes and Corday-en-Bage. So I understand that this bage word is a kind of subdivision of Pauillac, is that right?" "Yes, it is, okay. But my understanding is that in the classement de 1855, Lingebage is a fish gross, and it's from this area, and this bage area is flat. Yes, it's a plateau de bage, so it's quite flat. And my understanding is that all the first gross, like this fifth gross, like the Latour, the Lafitte Rothschild, the Mouton Rothschild, are on the other side of the road, where actually the landscape is not flat, but it's quite slopey. And I was wondering if there was an impact. And I was just amazed. And this person, who didn't know about the existence of white wine 6 months earlier, was asking questions that all of my friends who grew up like me in Bordeaux and knew about wine, or actually, sorry, who pretend they know about wine, would probably never ask. Which means there are millions of people, and maybe billions of people, who may develop an interest into wine and who don't necessarily have this interest into wine because they didn't have a chance to have wine accessible to them. And this is really the DNA of Wine by One. And unlike other places, and maybe the case for Vagabond or many places using self-service or try to make wine accessible to each and every one of you, once again, this wine card that you get at Wine by One, the two shops we've got in Paris so far, and maybe more soon, is really a kind of passport to the world of wine. And it makes a huge difference because most of the people, maybe not you because you're experts already, but most of the people, they imagine if you want to discover wine, you need some knowledge, you need a diploma. While at Wine by One, we don't provide a diploma, we just give you a passport. And once you've got this passport, as you could see in the movie, you've got access to the world of wine and you become more knowledgeable, and the experience is quite enjoyable, as you could see in the movie. So Wine by One is about wine, but it's once again more about you, about the people you saw in the movie.
Thank you very much, sir. I will pass the baton to you, the audience, in a couple of minutes. Before I do, I've actually just got a couple of questions of my own for you, each of you to dwell on. The first is actually about consumers or your customers, perhaps. And it picks up on Stéphane's story that he's just told, which is, do you think that genuinely your customers or the consumers that you're targeting, are they different in any way, do you think, today versus even 5 years ago or 10 years ago? Do you think that you're targeting a new group of people, or are you perhaps just solving a problem that's perhaps been there for a very long time? Peter, why don't you have a go at that one?
I think to a large extent it's opening up, it's solving a problem that's been there for a long time. There have been lots of attempts to do this over the years. Oddbins was a powerful force in the UK wine trade for many years, and their founding philosophy was hire people who look like their customers' sons and daughters, because they're much less intimidating. So hire people who look just a tad scruffy and a bit younger and are easy to approach and speak to. And it's taking it a step further, but what we're doing now, we're seeing that it's kind of a fun time to do this in the UK, because the UK customers are actually changing a little bit. They seem to be a little bit more inclined to explore to find value. I think with the credit crunch and all this sort of stuff, people are looking for better value, which means they're looking further afield, more unusual wines, more unusual countries. So I think it is a changing dynamic, but it is a problem that's existed for a long time.
Yes, I totally believe the same. What we have in the online field compared to offline is maybe that 5 years ago, having 400 wines on our platform was already differentiating. A little bit like the trend that might have happened in offline wine retail 20 years ago. And right now, there is like having a huge inventory is not differentiating anymore. So you need to find a new model to compete basically. And therefore, I think the problem is maybe a bit new in the online space, but only because online matures and gets to the same problems and issues that offline had already 20 years ago.
Okay, so first, 5 years ago or 10 years ago, I was not in the wine business, and wine by wine was not there. But this is actually very interesting. As I said, wine by wine is very different compared to any other player in the wine industry. And this is the reason why it's changing, but for us it's very different, because once again, we've got now nearly 20,000 cardholders or members, and I'm pretty sure that 80 or 90% of them would never have been to a place dedicated to wine. They would never have been to a wine bar, they would never have been to a wine store, but they went to Wine by One, and they're coming back to Wine by One, and they're bringing friends to Wine by One, like enlarging the community that you could see on the movie. And this is the reason why I think it is changing, and we are participating in that change. And it reminds me of a book that was a real inspiration for me. I told you that I got this business idea when I was in a business school, getting my MBA, and a management strategy book, which is very interesting, I really encourage the reading, is a Blue Ocean strategy. And what is Blue Ocean about? It means that all the boats want to catch fish, they go to the same area in the ocean, which is famous for fish. And the ocean is red because the only way to catch fish is to get them from the nets or the lines of the other boats. While if you're, let's say, a little bit smarter than the other boats, you just turn your boat, you drive your boat for a few hours, and you discover that the ocean as a whole is just blue. And then you drop your net and you can catch as many fish as you want. And well, first nobody will notice, and by the time they notice, actually it's too late, and you've got no competition. And this is what the Blue Ocean strategy is about. And I think Wine by One is really Blue Ocean, because all the customers we got over the past 3 years are not customers that we got from the other wine stores, the other wine bars, from competitors, because it's a kind of competition-free environment where our customers are younger. We've got actually more women. We have more women than men holding these wine cards at Wine by One. We've got a lot of international customers, and of course we've got people who are early beginners in the world of wine, without, of course, excluding the connoisseur and the rest.
Thank you very much. Right, your turn to